digitally transformed organizations have successfully adapted to any sort of sudden disruptions. And really what I'm trying to get at is that the same element that lies at the heart of digital transformation is also the underpinning of organizations that have proven most resilient during any sort of uncertain times, and that's data, right? Because data is what enables both analytical power, analyzing your past, gaining new insights, and predictive power, and helping you predict the future and plan ahead. Now, of course, it's one thing to gather and manage data, but then it's a whole nother beast to make decisions based on it. And this is truly where analytics comes in. Everything from dashboards and reports, right, to help keep everybody up to date on the current state of the business. BI and visualization just help everybody all around make better decisions with more informed insight, and augmented intelligence can discover a lot of information and patterns that, just honestly, sometimes experts overlook. Now, in organizations that have a ton of data, the reality is that a lot of this data is underutilized, right? If used at all, to be honest. A couple of reports, first one by Forrester, confirmed that anywhere between 60 and 70% of enterprise data goes unused. And then a survey done by Accenture found that only 32% of reported companies can realize tangible and measurable value from their data. And only 27% said their analytics, insights, and recommendations are actionable, right? So that just goes to show how much of the data is being underutilized in their analytics processes. Now we're also seeing an exponential growth in data. Okay, that's like a two-sided sword, because with all that data, yes, you have a ton more opportunities, but in the same hand, if you've got a ton of different data silos all over the place, that also just adds to increasing complexity. Now, part of the underlying problem just has to do with how the industry overall has approached analytics up to this point, right? Because we've had a ton of specialized technologies, things like data warehouses, data lakes that handle specific types of data. They've helped us collect and analyze data of all sizes, all formats, but this created niches of data, right? Tech and also expertise, which we talk about today as silos. And this brings us to kind of like a paradox of analytics, because the more that we apply new tech to integrate and analyze data, in turn, just naturally, the way things currently are, the more silos we create. So in order for us to actually harness the power of data, we have to break down the silos without creating new ones, and really try to approach analytics holistically. Now, like I mentioned, the current state, we can describe it as siloed, costly, latent, inaccessible, which is where, adopting a optimized cost and performance architecture, we can actually streamline the creation of fit for purpose analytics models and data driven business decisions, right? So instead of being in the category of costly data movement and replication, we want our data engineers to be able to produce data sets that serve the analysts and the scientists, encouraging more collaboration, right? Right now, there's a lot of latency issues with models and reporting. Instead, we want to be in a place where we have an optimized data estate for those complex queries, and analysis with semantic data science as well. And the list kind of goes on and on here. Now, along with that, governance is huge too, right? Everybody's worried about security, which is fair because it's essential to every organization, regardless of the framework or the solution that's implemented, because it really is the bedrock for your data confidence, your compliance, your line of business autonomy, your trust, right? And over the years, because data access and use has spread to really darn near every single corner of a company, and everybody all over these respective companies, we're all making some sort of business decisions, some more critical than others, but they do in turn affect our organizations, our customers, our shareholders. You could see maybe a finance department is visualizing billions of rows of risk data. You've got analysts in marketing finding new customers for a new product. the range of uses, abuses, and copies of data is leading to a lot of, it's unintentional, but there's some confusion and risk, right? And data governance really is that unifying glue that ties together your analytics stack and translates your data strategy into rules and policies that enable safe execution. And so, having everything locked down, as I like to say, in a collaborative fashion is more important than ever. And I think we'll get to see that pretty well with Fabric here today as well. Now, by harnessing your democratized advanced analytics and AI on a single lake-centric open platform, you can expect reasonably some increased performance, right, in your metrics. Leaders in the data analytics and AI category have actually reported a 77% increase in revenue, 81% increase in operational efficiency, 70% increase in market share, and a 77% increase in customer loyalty year over year. So what we're seeing, I say all of that to say this, what we're seeing is that the same organizations that really double down on democratizing their advanced analytics and AI stand to gain because they're able to do more with less, right? Because when you're getting an increase in performance across key metrics like these, that means that you're just becoming more adept at solving business challenges and driving value from your data. And God knows we all have a ton of it, which in turn is just increasing your competitive advantage. Now, when we look at the current state of data governance, it can be, I guess, described as lacking quality, right? And policy, which in turn leads to unwanted regulatory risks. So, in turn, by just unifying everything into a single source of truth that's served to all, whether that's, via data warehouse or lakehouse, you can really start to begin to reduce data duplication and sprawl, right? Which then in turn gives everyone, some certified and trusted data that everybody's comfortable with. And we can see this list here, right? Data duplication and sprawl. We want a single source of truth. Poor data quality. We want to make sure that all the data everybody's using, they're comfortable with, they're happy with, it's trusted. We want to make sure we're meeting or exceeding compliance and regulatory requirements. So now that we've kind of got the background out of the way, let's get into Fabric itself. What is it? What are all these different things on the screen? What are we talking about here? When we talk about unified, that's what I want you to make synonymous with Fabric. It is that unified analytics solution for the era of AI. It's your all-in-one. It's your one-stop shop that covers everything from data movement to data science, real-time analytics, and BI. There's a really comprehensive suite of services, things like data lake, data engineering, data integration, all in one place. Fabric does a really great job of bringing together new and existing components from Power BI, Azure Synapse, Azure Data Factory into that single space. And then all these different components are presented in various customized user experiences. So what I mean by that is, pretty much no matter what your role is as it relates to analytics and data, you can do all of those different things that you're used to doing in 10 different places, maybe even 15 different places in one single place, a place where everybody can collaborate and work on things together. Now, with the recent launch of Fabric, we've really embraced an end-to-end unified analytics platform that brings together all the data and analytics tools that organizations need. So you're able to take advantage of a single easy-to-use model, brings together everything that you need for your workload. So whether you're creating data pipelines or you're building machine learning models, you can use the same pool of compute power, or I'm sorry, the same pool of compute to power all your workloads automatically. So, you're able to unify your data estate by, firstly, Fabric's your complete analytics platform. It works against a governed data estate across the organization. So, you can responsibly connect people and data using both an open and scalable solution that gives that gives data stewards additional control with built-in security, governance, and compliance. It establishes an open and lake-centric hub that helps your data engineers connect and curate data from all sorts of different places, right? Which in turn is just eliminating the sprawl we want to get away from. And you're also able to create custom views for everybody. And again, kind of like I already mentioned, Fabric is really empowering everyone in your organization. It's, you can innovate faster by helping every person in your organization act on insights, whether that be from within even your M365 apps and more. And lastly, it just helps manage and power AI models, right? So you can develop your AI models on a single foundation without data movement, right? Which is in turn just reducing time that your data scientists need in order to deliver the value that everybody's looking for. Now, I do have a couple of poll questions I'm going to throw here throughout, and I do want to launch one just because, we're talking about all these different tools. I'm just kind of curious about which BI tool are you currently using in your organization for reporting? So let me go ahead and get that launched. I'm sure with many of us, it's Power BI. For some of us, it could be some other ones. So feel free to share those. Just kind of generally curious, and we'll launch a few more of those as we kind of go throughout, just to keep everybody engaged, keep everybody thinking. Right? That's kind of the idea. Now let's actually take a quick look at how all of these different experiences empower both data and business professionals to unlock the potential of their data, lay the foundation for the era of AI, which we're currently in, right? So there's 7 core workloads that you're currently seeing on the screen. The first one being Data Factory. Okay, what Data Factory does, if you haven't used it before, provides more than 150 connectors to both cloud and on-prem data sources. There's some drag and drop experiences for data transformation, and you also have the ability to orchestrate data pipelines. Now, with the Synapse data engineering experience, what that does is it enables some really neat authoring experiences, whether that's for Spark, instant start with live pools, and also the ability to collaborate, which is huge. Now, the Synapse data science experience really gives you an end-to-end workflow for your data scientists to build those really brainy AI models, right? Where they can collaborate, they can also get them trained, deployed, and manage them. Your Synapse data warehousing experience gives you a converged lakehouse and data warehouse experience with some industry-leading SQL performance on open data formats. Your Synapse real-time analytics experience enables your developers to work with data streaming in from IoT devices, telemetry, logs, and more, and also analyze massive volumes of semi-structured data with both high performance and low latency. And everybody's favorite, right? Power BI. There's another experience that we're seeing. Now, Power BI and Fabric provides you some industry-leading visualization and AI-driven analytics that enable your business analysts and your business users to gain insights from data. It's also deeply integrated into M365, which I'm sure a lot of you know because that's where a lot of us are currently working. And then there is the data activator experience. Now, what that does is it provides real-time detection and monitoring of your data and can actually trigger notifications and actions when it finds some sort of specified pattern in the data that you have set, right? All in a no-code experience. I kind of think of it somewhat akin to like, Power Automate, right? Setting something up, an action, a trigger to do X, Y, Z. That's essentially what Data Activator is doing, but based on the data that's living inside of your estate. So Fabric, just like this slide says, it does it all, right? It's combining Data Factory, Synapse, Explorer, Power BI into that one-stop shop. It's cost effective and it's performance optimized for your BI, your machine learning, your AI workloads, at really any scale. It's the foundation for migrating and modernizing your existing analytics solutions, whether that's the data appliances or your traditional data warehouses. Now, it's a unified SaaS-based solution, right? Comprised of those 7 key experiences that we talked about, which are really designed to target specific personas. And when we say personas, I'm really just talking about specific roles, right? And specific tasks that everybody is assigned, okay? But you're able to do all of these different roles, so to speak, right? While also working together on a unified Lake First foundation. So just, combined, what these experiences are designed to do is just help you and your organization unlock the true transformative value of data. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go a step further into each of these key experiences. So data integration. This brings the best of Azure Data Factory and Power Query together in one experience. So we're talking bringing low code, AI-enabled data prep and your transformation experiences, petabyte scale transformation, and hundreds of connectors, all with hybrid multi-cloud connectivity, and all governed via Purview. Now, your data engineering experience, this is for your data engineers. Okay, so that way they're able to transform data at scale and democratize data with a low-code lakehouse experience. A world-class Synapse Spark serverless compute, pro and low-code authoring experiences, and the ability to dynamically scale and orchestrate data. Those are the key elements for the data engineering experience. Now, moving to the data warehouse experience. This allows you to achieve data platform goals with ease of use and also cost efficiently, right? Which we all care about. It's an enterprise grade data warehouse that builds relational layers on top of the physical data in the lakehouse, giving you a fully separate compute from storage that can independently scale, which is also backed by industry leading SQL performance. Now, the data science experience. This is to allow everybody to build, deploy, operationalize your ML models. Grabbing that data from all sorts of different sources and all while supporting secure collaboration. So you can easily integrate with Azure Synapse Machine Learning for experiment tracking, model registry, processing millions of prompts, and you also have the ability to easily scale your workloads. Now, with a best-in-class observational data analytics engine, bringing us to the real-time analytics experience, what it does is allows you to unlock value by analyzing time series, telemetry, or log type data sets. Also, there is the ability to support semi-structured data at high volume coupled with capacity for unlimited scale from gigabytes to petabytes, really unlimited scale, concurrent queries, concurrent users, you name it. And then the Power BI experience, right? We know it. Power BI is the world's leading BI platform, fully integrated into Fabric. Make sure that you can quickly and intuitively leverage your data, helping you achieve faster and better data-based decisions. And the data activator, which we talked about, right? Automatically monitoring your Power BI data sets and event streams, which is eliminating all that manual time that may be spent within your organization monitoring any sort of operational dashboards that you have set up. I mean, the data activator can do all sorts of things like send alerts via whether it be Teams, email, third-party systems, and like we also talked about, can trigger actions inside some other apps. Now, the serverless compute, okay, that's a compute tier for single databases in SQL that automatically scales the compute based on the workload demand. So what I mean is that it allows for workloads to run without the need to provision compute, which is enhancing productivity, optimizing memory, and also creating a highly scalable environment. Now, one of my favorite pieces right now is on the screen, the OneLake, okay? That's going to be your single unified logical data lake for your entire organization. It comes automatically with every Fabric tenant, and it's designed to be the single place for all of your analytics data. It's open at every level. It's built on top of the ADLS Gen 2, and it can support any type of file, whether we're talking structured or unstructured. And also important to note that all Fabric data items like data warehouses and lake houses, they store their data automatically in OneLake in Delta Parquet format. So if a data engineer loads data into a lakehouse using Spark, And then a SQL developer uses T-SQL to load data in a fully transactional data warehouse. Both are actually contributing to the same data lake. It's storing all tabular data in Delta Parquet format. So what OneLake really focuses on is removing the challenges of managing multiple resources by improving collaboration. Uh, every tenant has exactly one lake. Okay, there can never be more than one, and if you have Fabric, there can never be zero. Again, it automatically provisions it. There's no extra resources to really set up or manage. Now, throughout Fabric, there is persistent data governance and security to manage, protect, and monitor your data, right? So things like conditional access, resiliency, lockbox, service tags, you name it. Now, I do have another poll question I want to throw out here to everybody real quick, which is what specific challenges are you hoping to address with analytics solutions? Are you maybe hoping to solve data integration, reporting efficiency, advanced analytics, data transformation? Maybe you have some poor data quality, or is it something else? What challenges are you currently facing that you're trying to solve right now? Because we're all here for a reason. Some of us it's similar, some of us it's different. Just kind of again getting those brains moving and trying to think about why exactly are we here? What are we struggling with? What are we having problems on? What are we hoping something like Fabric could do for us and our organizations? So these last couple of slides here really just get into a couple of different architecture scenarios, okay, that we can kind of touch on here real quick before we get into the big one. So what you're looking at on the screen right now, this is a lakehouse end-to-end scenario, right? Kind of like a lakehouse centric model. And what it does a good job of is highlighting how professional developers and analysts can collaborate on a single set of data. So by leveraging the lakehouse as kind of the central repo, data can be ingested once and then transformed and shared. So this allows multiple people to collaborate without the need to create multiple copies of the data, right? So, in a scenario like this, you'd kind of be impressed by the capabilities of the Synapse data engineering experience in Fabric, and any Power BI users would absolutely be amazed by the power and speed of Direct Lake, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Now, this is a data warehouse end-to-end kind of scenario, okay, that we're looking at. Now, this type of model kind of caters to SQL developers and kind of gives them the ability to utilize the data warehouse experience in Fabric in the Power BI service and through tools they're probably already familiar with, things like SQL Server Management Studio. Now, this scenario here also eliminates data duplication and it provides the same direct lake capabilities that Power BI users are definitely going to appreciate. Also important to note that in the future, users will have the option to link their existing data warehouse environments to Fabric data warehouse environments. This last scenario here is just a good representation of real-time analytics kind of end to end, right? So, you're able to focus on and scale up your analytics solutions while democratizing data for the needs of both your citizen and your professional developers, right? So when you're reducing complexity and you're streamlining data integration, real-time analytics transforms all that real-time data into an interactive on-demand resource that's accessible to everybody. Okay, so this type of experience just maintains, of course, what we all want, which is some robust analytical capabilities, and it also seamlessly integrates across the entire suite of your Fabric experience. So with one logical data, all data that's ingested into the KQL database that we're seeing here, okay, will automatically be available in OneLake, which is providing support for data loading, data transformation, and advanced visualization scenarios. This last one, this is like a fourth scenario here, kind of like a data science, okay, which welcomes your data scientists into Fabric, where they're going to be able to leverage the data that's already available in a lakehouse or a data warehouse, clean and prep the data, and then be able to iterate, build, and track machine learning experiments and models using MLflow, all within the Fabric environment. And what's even cooler is all the results from the models and experiments can be stored within the Fabric Lakehouse. So that way you can kind of further collaborate or visualize the data with Power BI as well. So that's all I have for the slide deck. Now we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit here into a kind of a really cool demo. It's called the Dream Demo. And we're like dead on time. So give me just a second to kind of switch gears here a little bit. And let's dive on into this. And like I said, if there's any ideas going on through your head right now or any questions as we keep rolling, feel free to share those in the chat. We're happy to interact and just address anything that you may be curious about. Okay, so let's get on into this. Yeah, I didn't unshare my screen, so we're good. Perfect. Okay. So let me go ahead and get logged into my fictional organization here, be it Contoso. I'm going to agree to this legal mumbo jumbo, and we're going to go on here to this little map that we're looking at. So what's going on is we're looking at a scenario with Contoso. Okay, the retail enterprise. They've got hundreds of brick and mortar stores. They also have an online store. We're gonna kind of take the view of some different roles throughout the organization on this little journey here that we have. And so right now, we're the CEO, okay, and our name is April, and what we're looking at, I mean, we're happy to kind of see like a high level view of how all of our different Contoso stores all over the world are performing, right? So we can hover over each one of these, see the top 5 KPIs that matter most to us right now. And when we hover over Miami, what we're able to see is the 5 majors being revenue, churn rate, bounce rate, operating profit, and then customer experience, color coded by sentiment, right? Now let's go ahead and drill in just a little bit here. Now, April is a data-driven CEO, which I'm sure some of us may be, what's the word I'm looking for? Which we may relate to, right? Whether that's us or a boss that we can think of. And what she's really dreaming of is a dashboard like this that we see on the screen. We can see real-time data being fed in. We can see a large variety of metrics, right? So essentially, she wants something that can use structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data to be able to get meaningful insights for the present. Now, she also wants to be able to use real-time analytics to make decisions for the next moment, the future, right? And she also wants predictive and prescriptive insights into the future. Now, our little journey here starts on, just bear with me, it kind of rewind back to the past, if you will. Let's say we're January 30th, 2023. And what she's seeing at this time is that the KPIs, not hot, right? We can see our revenue. We're 75% off of our goal. Our bounce rate is much higher than we want it. The customer churn, not looking great, okay? Just to name a few. She wants to transform these KPIs for Contoso before their upcoming Black Friday sale in November. So what she does is she goes to her team, right? And here's our team. And the first thing she does is talk to Rupesh, who's our CDO, about the KPIs not doing so hot. Rupesh then talks to the rest of the team and then gets to take a look at the current state of their architecture. And what he's seeing is that, Contoso is facing a few major problems, right? Which I'm sure some of us can relate to. First off, each department has its data in silos. And because of those silos, there's a huge dependency on integration and data movement across the organization. And then to add into all this, Contoso also just acquired a company called Litware, and he knows that the integration challenges with ingesting Litware's data has already delayed the project by 6 months. So now let's go ahead, now that we've taken a look at the current state of their architecture, let's take a look at what's currently on top of Rupesh's mind. I mean, right here, right, we can see Every analytics project has a ton of subsystems. They need a different class of products. Products are coming from multiple vendors, and integration at scale is complex, fragile, and expensive. And he's the CDO. He doesn't want to be the CIO. Now we're moving to a CDO metrics kind of card that we're looking at here, kind of like a scorecard, right? So we can view the major KPIs as they relate to the business. And first off, we're seeing that slow time to market to ingest new sources of data is affecting revenue. Okay. And when we say, to ingest those new sources, that slow time, we're talking about the delayed acquisition of litware because they're trying to figure out what are they going to do with all of this data. The lack of cross-functional self-service tools is also increasing the operational expenses, which is in turn reducing operating profit. There's a lack of near real-time reports, right? So any sort of customers' needs in those brick and mortar stores can't be met, right? So any sort of like temperature anomalies in the stores are going undetected, which is causing customers to churn and leave. And then the lack of AI features and data products for their online experience is causing a high bounce rate, which is terrible. And Rupesh realizes they need to solve this quickly before the Black Friday sale. So let's go ahead and see how we can go about doing that. Now, what Rupesh really wants is to bring the best analytics capabilities. So things like data engineering, warehousing, real-time analytics, BI, and more. They're already used to using some Microsoft analytics tools, whether it be AWS Gen 2, Databricks. He's really looking for a more unified approach. Okay. He wants to, pivot on an open and governed data lakehouse. He also wants a common model for security, for governance, compliance. He wants to embrace the lake first pattern, which is going to enable smooth transition towards the next generation of analytics. Now, he also realizes they've got a ton of different workloads, right? Data integration, engineering, warehousing, analytics, science, BI, data lake governance, admin. They have all of these products, but they're all in silos, and those silos are exactly what is holding them back. He also knows there's a lot of wiring to do because each product was designed with different design points and architectures. But good news for Contoso, they're part of the Microsoft Fabric public preview. They want to go ahead and explore it using it with in hands Azure Databricks. Now, there's a lot going on here. Okay, I know this is a very busy image. Just kind of bear with me here, and we're gonna try to break this down as much as we can here. So now, with the evolution of Fabric, right? You've got the option to choose the analytics capabilities from Fabric and or Databricks as well, whatever works best for your scenarios, all without having to worry about reshaping your data. So what this means is that you can still choose Azure to be the best destination for your analytics and AI workloads. Fabric is also natively integrated with Purview, right? So that way you don't have to worry about data protection. We talked about OneLake, which is your open standard Delta format, open at every level, built on top of AWS Gen 2, supports any type of file, structured or unstructured. With one copy, once you have the data, there's no need to copy it anywhere, okay? And with one security, it's easy to manage and govern your security across the entire data estate. So just like an AWS endpoint, OneLake can also be mounted to Databricks without having to move any data around. The Databricks compute is then used for performing any sort of operations, running your ML workloads directly on top of the OneLake. And the model that's created in Databricks is then operationalized with MLflow. And then those workload outputs can be consumed by the notebooks for performing some churn and sentiment analysis for Contoso customers, and also to create some data products in OneLake for visualizations. Now, the Rupesh, him and his team, they leverage this architecture that we're looking at on the screen to do the following. They want to ingest data from a spectrum of sources here, okay? They also want to map to Litware Inc.'s product review data via some shortcuts, right? They want to ingest real-time data from Contoso's brick and mortar stores. They want to curate the data from bronze to silver to gold using data flows, pipelines, notebooks. They want to leverage machine learning to determine some key insights like the churn, the scores, the sales forecasting, and they want to be able to create compelling Power BI reports from Direct Lake. So now let's kind of take a quick look at the persona optimized experiences supported by the architecture that we're looking at on the screen here. The big thing to note is this, right? It's all in one place. We don't have a bunch of different silos, persisting in all sorts of different services, different applications. Think of all the connections that you have to make typically. It's a nightmare, right? Here is truly a one-stop shop. And you can use whatever language you or your counterparts are most comfortable with, right? Whether that's T-SQL, KQL, Spark, you name it. So now here we kind of see a glimpse into Fabric, right? That single SaaSified product, if you will, supporting all the different workloads that Contoso actually needs. We got a whole spectrum of experiences, Power BI, engineering, you name it. So now we're going to play the role of Ava, the data engineer. We're going to start preparing data for the merger between Contoso and Litware. So we're logged into Fabric here. And what we're going to do is we're going to find the data engineering experience. Let's get into Fabric real quick, bottom left. We're going to hop into the data engineering experience here. And then right here, we can see all of our different workspaces, okay? We can see all of them for each department inside of Contoso, just kind of giving us a bird's eye view of the various data products that they have going on. Now, all this is ready for data ingestion without any data duplication. Now, in this workspace, what Ava can do is she can either start working with a previously created data asset for which she already has permissions for, or she can go ahead and create a new one. Now, when you're going about and you're creating a new lake house, you can either start working with a previous or when you create a new lake house, it's important to note that it comes with three components. Okay, you get a lake house, you get a SQL endpoint, and you get a default data set. Each one of those includes the same name given to the lake house when you actually create it. So let's actually go ahead and create one here. Let's give it a name. We're going to call it My Lake House. Great, great, great. Now, the Synapse Data Engineering Lakehouse combines the best of the data lake in the warehouse, meaning it makes ingesting, transforming, and sharing organizational data really very seamless, okay? Because it's all in an open format. It really makes Lakehouse a first-class item in any workspace. Now, once it is created, it automatically creates its respective SQL endpoint, which is going to point to the Lakehouse Delta table storage and a default asset as well. Now, Ava's already created some data pipelines, okay, to ingest data from a variety of sources. So here we can just see the couple that we've got on the screen here. Contoso has a ton of data stored in different places, which kind of makes it difficult to manage and consume. So Ava starts by getting campaign data from Snowflake using some low code, no code data pipelines. And the pipeline's got two activities going on, okay? So first we've got, whoops, let me get out of that. First, we've got a lookup activity, okay, which connects to the source and checks if the Snowflake data exists. Now, the second is going to be the copy data activity. And that copies campaign, or I'm sorry, the copy data activity does copy campaign data from Snowflake to the Lakehouse is what I was getting at. And that's just one of the many data sources that we have going on here. We have some other pipelines for some other sources of data as well. Now let's take a look at another option for ingesting the data. So maybe now this time Ava prefers using the code first experience. So let's go back to our workspace and navigate to this notebook here. So here we've got it opened up. When it comes to the notebooks, the code first experience, what this does for Ava is it lets her get started with the data and the modeling so she can create new notebooks. She can import the necessary libraries, define her own functions to get the data from all sorts of different places. And we can kind of scroll on down here. And what we can see is Contoso had its data in multiple workspaces, be it the marketing, the IT, the ops. What Ava can do is use the serverless Spark compute without any sort of provisioning to run the notebook and process the data in a code first approach. So let's open up one of the data folders in the bronze layer here and just take a quick look at the data format. And what we're going to see is that it is currently in CSV format. That's the format that or the file type, I should say, that we're looking at. So this is their data from the various workspaces. Now, Ava is going to start ingesting customer insights data. Okay. And so this time, what we're going to do is we're going to filter our results to include data pipeline and data flow Gen 2. So let's hop on over to our Contoso sales workspace. And what Dataflow offers is really a wide variety of transformations. You can run them manually on a refresh schedule or even as part of a data pipeline orchestration. So here what she's going to do is she's going to use a data pipeline to trigger the data flow activity for ingesting insights from Dataverse. So she's got a pipeline, single activity. The customer insights data is ingested into the lakehouse using the data flow connection. Now, she also needs to get the Litware Inc. data. So let's see how she can do that by using a shortcut. So we're going to go back to our Contoso sales workspace. We're going to get into our silver lakehouse. And when we talk about bronze, silver, gold, that's just kind of like a medallion architecture where, and I should have mentioned that earlier, probably did a poor job of prefacing that, but it's a way that you can process your data all the way from raw to usable, right? What I mean by that is you've got a data source with a bunch of raw data in it. You feed it into a bronze lakehouse, okay? That's where all that kind of messiness is living. Then through some transformations, it gets moved and filtered into the silver lakehouse, okay? So now some of that data more usable than, of course, than the way that it was sitting in the bronze. You can run some queries on it, maybe something for your Power BI reports, but more likely than not, what you really want is some additional transformations of that data to happen and move into the gold lakehouse. Now, that all that data that's living in the gold lakehouse, that's the good stuff, right? That's the stuff where it's been refined, it's been audited, it's been tested, it's trusted, you're happy with it, and that's truly what you're building a majority, if not all, of your reports based off of. Now, to bring us back, we're in the Silver Lake House. We're going to go ahead, scroll on down. We're going to get into files here. And now what we see is this shortcut option. Now, this is just the latest addition to the list of ways that data can be replicated from storage to the lakehouse. So with this option, what Ava can actually do is create a direct connection to an internal data source, whether that be a lakehouse, a warehouse, or a Keycol database in another workspace. Also, she could create a shortcut to an external data source, be it AWS Gen 2 or Amazon S3. The data isn't locked behind engines or compute, right? So all the engines can access the same data without having to move or load or import or export the data as well. Now, also take note of these different folders here that have this little chain link icon, right? All this does is this just shows us that the data that's in these folders is just a reference to data stored at a different location. So let's take a look at one of these folders for Litware here. Now they've got a ton of data from their sales transactions, okay? And the bronze layer of the lakehouse has, again, that raw data from different domains and workspaces, including data from an external workspace. So now it's time to start data transformation. So that way we can get some of this data ready for BI purposes, right? Which is what we ultimately want. So let's go ahead and key on over here to our Lakehouse Gold. And it's also important to note that Contosa was already using Databricks, right? So they had some of their curated data from Twitter and their product reviews in ALS Gen 2 using some DLT pipelines and the medallion architecture, right? And they wanted to see if they could bring that data into OneLake with Fabric without moving it. That's where the shortcuts come into play. So Ava can easily create a shortcut to any sort of external Delta table coming from ADLS, or some of that pre-processed gold layer data is already sitting at. So she can use those tables with her, or yeah, she can use those tables with her existing tables in the gold lakehouse. So here she can go ahead and see the shortcut table and query it as well with her Spark code or by using a SQL endpoint. All right, perfect. Now I do have a poll question here I want to throw out real quick. If it wants to load for me, there we go. Which is, when would you be looking to implement a new or upgrade your current analytics solution? Is it a pressing need? Is it something you're trying to do soon within the next 1 to 3? Is it something you know you got to do, but you're looking more 3 to 6? Is it longer term 6 to 12? Or it's, hey, I just know we got to do something. No specific timeline, but we're trying to figure something out here because the way that things are currently sitting, they could definitely be better, right? No matter where you're at on that spectrum, appreciate everybody's participation. Now, while you're doing that, let's talk about the other option that Contoso wants to use to get new insights with Twitter and campaign data using Databricks, okay? So with Fabric, what Ava can do here is land data in the lakehouse in an open format, which any cost optimized compute can access, be it Databricks, right? Without making any change in their current architecture. So she can pull from that same data set. The data is not locked into Fabric. So with the data available in open format, really any tech can be plugged into OneLake. Since the foundation is built on an open standard Delta Parquet format, it's compatible with any compute engine that supports the open format. Now, since Contoso had some of this compute workload on Databricks, they don't need to migrate any of that workload to work with Fabric. They can just use the OneLake endpoint to mount the storage, work with the same data directly from the lakehouse for any of their analytical and machine learning operations. So let me go ahead inside of Databricks here. We'll get into workspace, go into shared, we'll go into our mounted OneLake here, get into this notebook, and perfect. So what this approach does is it just makes sure that data doesn't have to be duplicated. It's accessed from the same location for some further processing by the DLT pipelines. Now, there's 2 ways to authenticate mounting OneLake on Azure. First one is pass-through. The second one is the service principal option to access the OneLake. We'll go ahead and scroll on down here, and then we're going to get back to our workspace. And when it comes to the service principal option, I do want to mention that it is the recommended one, okay? But now what we're going to do is we're going to see how some of this data is consumed in the DLT pipelines. So if we scroll on down here, when we talk about DLT, Delta Live tables, okay, essentially what they do is it just makes it really easy to build and manage reliable data pipelines that deliver high quality data on Delta Lake, okay? Helps your engineering team simplify ETL development and management with some declarative pipeline development, some automatic data testing, and deep visibility for monitoring and recovering. Let's go ahead now and let's move to workflows here off to the left-hand side. Now, after mounting the OneLake location, it's time to actually convert the raw bronze files into the open standard Delta Parquet format supported by OneLake. This can be done using any Spark compute, whether it's in Fabric or Databricks. We're using DLT pipelines to process the raw data from OneLake, and then we want to store it back in open Delta tables. Now, what Ava's going to be able to see from this graph once it loads is the data lineage of the bronze, silver, and kind of a variety of the gold tables. And what we can do is we can also look at another DLT pipeline where we've stitched the Twitter data and the campaign data together, which we're going to take a look at here in just a second. This just gives us like another kind of zoomed in view of this data lineage. So this is that Twitter campaign DLT pipeline where we've got the Twitter data and the campaign data together. And the Twitter sentiment and campaign data are stitched just to give us a combined product, okay? It's then consumed in another activity for machine learning and BI use cases as well. Now let's go ahead and jump on over to this notebook. Now, this will become a serving layer for different use cases like machine learning, whether that's to further enrich the gold layer in BI. So we're going to kind of explore these a little bit further. Now, the architecture diagram that we're looking at on the screen shows us the end-to-end ML ops pipeline using the Azure Databricks managed ML flow. So after a bunch of iterations with a ton of different hyperparameters, the best performing model is registered in the Databricks MLflow model registry. Then it's set up as the model serving in the Azure Databricks workspace for any sort of low latency requests. Now that we've ingested and processed our customer data, we want to understand what makes one customer more likely to churn than say another. So we want to see if we can produce a model that can accurately predict if a certain type of customer is going to churn. Ultimately, we just want to understand our customer sentiment, so that way we can create targeted campaigns to be able to improve our sales. So we're going to click on this little drop down here, get into machine learning, into workspace, and machine learning solutions in a box. How about that? Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and let's start scrolling on down. So with our prepared data, what we can now do is take a look at some of the patterns that are contained, right? So this first one here, we can see the customer churn outcome based on factors like the tenure in months and the total amount that they spent. And so what we actually find here is a higher churn rate if the customer tenure is low and they have a lower spend amount. Now let's scroll down a little bit further. There's some other ones in here as well. Give me just a second. Imperfect. Okay. So what I'm going to do here now is I actually want to, because we're coming up close on our time. I know we're scheduled for an hour here. I want to go ahead and toss this over to Derek real quick. Derek, you've got some good information to share with everybody, and I'm going to launch one more poll while Derek is sharing that information. So, sir, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks for demonstrating all the awesome things Fabric can do. I know as a marketer, it's been great to have direct access to marketing data all in one place. It's also been great not needing to export data since I can create custom reports within the platform itself. So if you'd like to learn more about how Lunavi can help you overcome your specific challenges by leveraging Fabric and similar Microsoft solutions, you can check out our digital consulting overview resource, which I'll share in the chat. And you can also email me directly at the email address shared in the chat as well. definitely would like to help and kind of learn more about your challenges and learn how we can help you out as well. So thanks for everyone joining today.
Yeah, awesome, Derek. We really appreciate that. Everybody, make sure you grab that information on the way out. I know we didn't get to finish this full demonstration here in the time that we have together, but at the very least, I hope that you've got more information on Fabric than you showed up here with today, and B, you were able to see some, some transformation with a fictional company kind of going from like, bare bones, hey, we know we have a ton of problems. We know Fabric could be a solution. How do we get started? What are some of the different advantages, things that we can see? And again, I'd like to highlight that number one, everything's all in one place. All of the different roles in an organization can participate, collaborate, work on your various data sources in one place. And it's already got a lot of the same tools that you're probably used to using. Okay. But instead of having them in 10 different places with your data living in 10 different places, it's all in a one-stop shop. Right. So that's what I wanted to point out. And Mark, I see that there. That's a great question. I will get to that as soon as we wrap up here. I'll probably follow up with you offline. But if anybody else has any questions for Derek or any questions in general, feel free to share them. If not, appreciate everybody's time. Really, really thank you so much. Hope you have a great rest of the week. And if you'd like to learn more or you're really gung-ho about, hey, how do I get in Fabric today? Please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you so much.